I wanted to share a quick video about something that is really special to me that happened kind of out of nowhere and really took me by surprise. If you don't know me, my name's Ed. I'm an oil painter based out of Maine. I primarily paint landscapes and do this strange practice where I make hundreds of versions of the same place and then sculpt them together and build my paintings almost like mosaics. Recently, for many years I've been watching this artist online. His name is Elliott Earls, and what he does in his practice is he's an artist, he's a designer, and he talks about designs and kind of an art critique about the big world and macro, but also in his own individual world. And I've always enjoyed his content. And recently, he published a video where he would be opening his studio up for open studio visits. And I was really excited about this. I'm in Maine. I kind of live out in the middle of nowhere, and it can be really difficult sometimes to be able to get people up there to be able to see my work and really in general just to have a good conversation with someone who's part of the institution who understands art. And I just wanted to get his feedback. I respected his work and I got permission from Elliot to publish this video recording. So I'm going to present it for you now. This is a conversation between me and Elliot Earls for one of the studio visits that he had set up. And it took a pretty surprising turn, so I hope you stick around to watch it. So thank you, Elliot, and thank you, yeah, for watching.
And so this is a private conversation, but at the end of this meeting, basically I'll send you another email. It'll be a copy of our conversation, both transcribed through AI with all the whatever, but also a link of the video. But it is private, so it's just for you. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Again, just like wanted your feedback on my work. Essentially, everything kind of changed for me during COVID. I switched from being like, I've always made very sculptural type paintings, but I started seeing, a big part of my website and what I wanted my website to be about was like the narrative of how I make work and why I make work as well. And so I started noticing during COVID that so many people were coming to Maine, and I felt like there was a huge shift between that moment in time, between how the landscape played a role in our lives into everything after. And I don't feel like it's ever going back to that. And I feel like there's a kind of certain place of like escapism, of feeling of overwhelm and recollecting ourselves. And so I started to look at my painting kind of metaphorically and thinking about how I could paint as metaphor. And mainly with this idea of like, hey, I want to take everything I know about the world, put everything on the ground and rebuild it for myself. And I was doing that in nature, and I saw other people doing that in nature as well, especially in relation to the Maine landscape. And so what I started to do is literally like make hundreds of versions of the same place or details of the same place on these plexiglass panels. And I would think about like the process of painting almost as if like rendering itself was like invalid. Like the idea of rendering on a single image on a single platform, we needed to be more decisive and we needed to have a bird's eye view of what it is that we were doing. And I wanted to identify from a decision-making point of all of these different versions of the same place and then use those to build my paintings. And so I would come in and then like the next day come in and sculpt and like steal these versions, laying these out and building these compositions on my studio floor, and then essentially rebuilding the work in its image. And these are like crazy long posts, so I'm not going to give you to that, but like many months of time that I'm like rebuilding and building, and these are
so is that paper or is that actual oil paint?
This is 100% oil paint. So like I am straight up like taking enormous amount of paint from cans, Gamblin sells cans, and I'm laying them on these panels and then painting, like sometimes more gesturally, sometimes more representationally, and then stealing an area from this oil paint, and then it's sculpted into a form that is then like transplanted. And I use tweezers and things as it dries to move it around. It's like paint skins essentially. They can be like the one I have behind me. But yeah, and
mind-blowing.
So I do all the narratives. So like I'm very big into like again the storytelling. Like we had a crazy flood. I love inclement weather, and so this was me painting outside like on this like shore of this crazy flood.
What town are you in?
I'm in Kennebunk, Maine.
Oh, right, yeah, for sure.
So super southern Maine. And like I'll photograph and do websites. This is like a little bit more illustrative of like exactly how I do the thing that I do. So like I use a lot of palette knives, like scraping and stealing, and then this is like building and putting and coming up with these forms onto the panel. So yeah, and I think finding inspiration all over the place. These are some of the finished works. This is an image of the final work that was on the website. I think maybe website optimization needs to be updated because it takes a little bit to load some of these images, but this is that one that I was showing before.
Great stuff, man.
But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, and how do you think that I can help you? I mean, I have some thoughts, but how do you think I can help you?
So when I really just like critical feedback in general, like what are you seeing? What are your first thoughts? I have some, and I've kind of stress testing some typical things that I've heard and that I've developed over time. But again, like.
Well, I think, I think your paintings are absolutely fascinating. And I actually think that, so when looking at some of these questions, do you think the historical reference read is blocking deeper engagement? I absolutely do not. I think, I don't know what your opinion of this is, but being in an academic environment, running a graduate program in art and design for 25 years, I find that the environment, in some ways, not in all ways, is quite the opposite of what people might think. And what I mean by that is that artists are supposed to be creative thinkers. They're supposed to be independently minded. And actually, I think since about 2018, probably before that, there's a kind of herd mentality that everybody's on the same page about. But really, when you think about the structure of creative fields and you think about the structure of creativity, it really is the artist and the designer who has the courage to kind of stand outside of the group of people and to make work that doesn't hew to the things that everyone else is doing. Now, this is clearly, I think some of this stuff is clearly steeped in history, as you have pointed out, and I would suggest that that's its strength. You showed yourself plein air painting these, and the kind of color palette, the tonality, the reference to landscape, the fact that these are all oil paint, that they read as landscapes, like this kind of thing. I actually think that's the real strength of this work, and I think that, like, I have 3 kids, all 3 of them are artists. The work is very corporeal, but there's no mistaking that for somebody who doesn't have real skill. So your first question, authenticity and creation in social media, there's a paradox here, and I didn't have an opportunity to see whether or not you're leveraging Instagram or YouTube, but I would encourage you the performative component.
It's annoying, to be honest. Like, I find it annoying. I find it like and very necessary. Like, I do the thing, and so I'll show you this. I'm a very like avid journaler. Like, these are my many. As a gift to myself, every month for the past 5 years, I get a book published of my journals, and all of these blog posts that I do are generated from these journals. And so I find a lot of fulfillment in writing and documenting and building my process. And all of that goes into the blog, and then I take those stories and I have been trying to like cut them up and build them and use those as the fuel for my social media presence, which seems to be the most authentic way to do it to me, right? But again, it's like I've seen like other artists who do like a funky thing with paint, or like or like some type of and I'm not really like doing that for the process of I really am obsessed with like story and narrative and metaphor, and I feel like sometimes showing the process gets in the way of actually like engaging with that. And if I'm just like sitting there and showing how cool my brushstrokes are, or how I scrape paint, and like that's the hook for my video, and then I do the thing, I just feel like it kind of cheapens it in a way. But like, maybe is that just me to decide? It's all about how I present it, of course. But
I think that I like, if you're a journaler, I think that the one way to look at I think that you should free yourself up with regard to the social media practice. And what I mean by that is, I think that you should look at Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and YouTube as a sketchbook. And I would encourage you, like when you showed the process, when you showed your process work, when you show your process work on your website, that
Yep.
shit is fucking dope. And what it does is it provides a frame for people to understand your work. And so I'll spend more time on your Instagram feed, but I would suggest that you should uh, slightly reframe the way that you think about it. And what that I mean that I definitely have a kind of a little bit of an ambivalent relationship to YouTube because it requires a lot of work. But the fact of the matter is that you end up meeting people like you from engaging deeply in these platforms. And so I think that the thing that you should do is I think that you should see that as a part of your work, that it is on a regular schedule, but that it is part of your journaling part. And again, I'm speaking a little bit out of turn here. That's probably already what
Go
you're
ahead.
doing. It's probably
Yeah.
already what you're doing, but I will look more closely into it. But I've had
And
I've
I'm
had
very tight.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I don't post enough, and when I do, I'm very tight. Like, I feel like I can't have notifications on my phone. I can't know how many likes I get. Like, I don't want to respond quickly to comments or messages. It just
You
bugs
shouldn't do that. And who is basically my social media coach. Like he's got millions of followers on across these platforms, and he has never once looked at his analytics. Never. And he's like when you post a YouTube video and concerned about how many views it gets or how many likes or thumbs ups or whatever, he's like, you're doing it wrong. So really what you should do, if you ask me, is like you should figure out a way of blind, almost like blind posting. And I think that you should uncork. You shouldn't, I think it would help your practice, but really what you should do is you should view it almost like a sketchbook. But the big key that my son has taught me about and everything is it has to be on a regular basis. And then do not get twisted about what your metrics are. The sole rubric for whether or not you are successful on social media is whether or not you're doing it regularly. So like if you could make a reel, and actually when I've done a deep dive on my shorts and on my reels, literally the ones that are less than 10 seconds long are the ones that perform the best. There is absolutely no way that while you're painting, you can't pull out your phone and you can't make a 10-second video. But the thing is I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help free you from like the distraction and from the algorithm stuff. Because really what it'll end up doing is it'll end up building relationships like what the meeting that you and I currently have. And then the thing that I want to do before I would love to invite you to come out to Cranbrook sometime and to like chop it up with the students, present your work to my students.
serious? Really?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What? Yeah, of course. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
dude, I just live in like a bubble, you know?
Yeah, but don't do that. Like you're very talented. Yeah, it's clear you're very talented. It's clear you're very talented, and I think that what you should do personally is I think that you should reframe how you think about it. But the things that again, who is very successful with this talks about is like pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to post a bunch of different stuff, but you have to be loose with it. You have to be free with it, and you have to decouple this sense that you got a million likes and that's not what it's about. Like if you showed me this big stack of journals and you showed me you chronicling your process on on your website. Just 10 seconds a day, like 10 seconds a day, for Instagram Reels, and just post them to YouTube, and don't think for a moment about whether or not you got one like or you got whatever. Basically, what's going to end up happening is if you stick with it for a year, you'll build these. All of a sudden, you'll see that it brings people into your and expose your process.
Sure.
But I think that I think that the traditional components of your work are the aspects that are the most avant-garde. I think that the fact that you're clearly very skilled, and the fact that your work, like the plein air quality of the stuff, that shit is fucking dope, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've in engaging with galleries, I don't have a gallery. I just do it all myself. I sell my own stuff. I haven't really had too much of a problem just selling it. I find that I just bring people, or I meet people online or beyond, and then we just do it. I find that honestly, and maybe we can get like, this might be another discussion in the future, but I think that there is something really avant-garde about a commission.
Yeah,
like
100%.
the idea. I think we've thought so critically for so long in the art world that we need to make whatever and then put it in a gallery to then be purchased and then adopted. I think there's something beautiful about the storytelling that people have about how they own their own work. And like the way that I paint, like I look at metaphor and the way that I build my paintings as being a way that you could describe how you might have been feeling at maybe a turning point in your life, or a turning point moment when you were experiencing landscape and beyond. And there's this artist, and he just like takes everything he knows about the world, puts it on the ground, and rebuild it. I felt the same way. And this is this thing. And he built this for me, describing this particular place that I was once in. I think that's I've done a couple commissions like that, and they're so meaningful and beautiful.
So what are you currently doing during the day? Like, do you work somewhere?
Yeah, so I work remote. I travel sometimes to Boston and New York City. But yeah, no, I work out of my studio.
Okay, so basically, the reason why I ask is maybe what you could do is what I do is I try to embed people here in the studio for a period, and I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but maybe what you could do is like prep all of the stuff. I don't know how long your process takes, but like over a 3-day period, could you make a painting here in the studio?
Yeah, we could do something small. I mean, what I would do, so I have like these stacks of plexiglass panels that I bring, and so like 100 of them, and then I just go to a place, and then I just like paint like a demon. Like I just like whatever comes to mind. Like I find a detail, and then I just paint that, and then I just lay them out on my studio floor. I have a large like 900 square floor that, and then I just sculpt them together. Like I find areas and I build it, and I interlock these forms, and like
would that screw with your like, could you continue in like a 3-day period? Could you continue to do your I'm asking what I would be interested in is, the big thing is not for you to teach anything, but for you to just expose the fact that like you're actually making something among graduate students. So it would be like you'd be making a piece over like a 3-day period. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to consider, what could I make over a 3-day period, and you'd make it in the studio. Like you'd have a private studio. You'd be about this big, but try something like that. So it's an offer to you to consider. That's for sure.
I mean, like I'm just yes to everything. Like I don't.
Right.
I love the challenges. I'm not ultra precious about it. I make all different types of work. This is like but like I don't really do like printmaking. Like I used to do everything, like sculpture, metal sculpture, everything. But now I just make oil paintings, and that's all I focus on. So if we're
I would want you to do what you wrap up. I have a to-do list here, but he's going to reach out to you and try and figure out whether or not some time works for you. And then if this is like too much, or if you're not into it, just say it doesn't work out. But the point is he'll
I would 100% want to do this. Like
yeah.
Everything kind of emotional in a way, like very exciting.
Yeah.
So please,
Yeah, so
whatever.
He'll reach out to you and he'll try and set something up. We run, it could be next fall. It would be better if it were this academic year, but it's fine if it doesn't work out. We
Okay.
run until like May. We run until like May 5th of this year, which is 2 months or something left. If that doesn't work, then we could do it in the fall. And basically, what we would do is we'd try and put you up in a hotel, and then you could you could have a studio space here for like 3 days. But what you do is you'd have to prepare in advance so that what we would want is I'd introduce you to the students, and then basically you'd be working for a 3-day period, and you'd leave with a completed painting. You might, if it's landscape. I don't know how much you know about Cranbrook, but you might want to kind of prior to that. Like, it doesn't have to be landscape. You can do whatever you want, but.
I have a ton of source material and panels. My paintings are very heavy, so I get them fabricated in Brooklyn in furniture grade birch plywood, and then they have a metal backing. So I have some panels that are actually prepped and ready to be made. So I would probably come and have a panel like already sketched, and then all I have to do is just like do the actual like meat of the thing that I do, which is painting.
Perfect.
Sounds
but
good. Yeah, totally. I mean, I did just one because there's been these crazy blizzards, and I have like a waterfall outside my studio, and I'll show it to you. Well, it's this is one that I did. It was a little bit labor intensive, but this was about 4 days of work, and it was something about this size. I think this is like 24 by 24 altogether, but I've been mixing like the hyper textured like work with representational like. But this is just outside my window.
Killer.
I mean, we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah, perfect.
I'd love to. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So like, when I talk to galleries and beyond, and this is maybe just me, but they look at the work and it's like, are these like trash bags at first? And then it's like a whole like environmental art thing. I'm like, no, this is like oil paint. And then they're like, wow. But then on the other side, there's like, oh, like this clearly looks like impressionism. And I'd like you said, you don't think I should care about it. I personally feel like it's kind of a commentary on it, like maybe even an elevation or evolution to it. But I don't know how to respond to that feedback.
But that's why I think that you should be less passive about telling your story. So in other words, basically, and this is a longer conversation, but I'm trying to be very brief, which is that in my opinion, like the attempt to go through the gallery in the way that you just talked is really counterproductive. Basically, there's a book by Mark Ecko, Ekecko. It's called Unlabeled, and it's a strange book. It's basically just about, it's like he was a street artist, and it's really about creating a brand. But effectively, what he talks about is that when he worked with Tommy Hilfiger, that people think that things happen in the opposite way that they happen. And basically, Tommy Hilfiger thought that Mark Ecko had something that Tommy Hilfiger wanted, which is credibility on the street. What's that got to do with you? It has to do with this idea of that. I think the key to your practice is the objects primarily, but I think that it's also on your website where you're journaling and you're showing your process. Basically, if you can actually tell a compelling story around your work, which you can, and you do innately, you have those journals, then galleries think that there is something that you provide to them, not the other way around. You'd have to ask them. And so I would not shy away from impressionism. I would not try to make your work more contemporary, in quotes. I wouldn't shy away from those things. What I would do is the fact that you held up these journals and that you had them printed out as books, if you move that exact process to the digital realm and you take off of yourself the pressure to perform, the pressure to get likes, all that stuff, and actually you just reframe the rubric as, am I being consistent, and am I free with my social media presence? Am I not being concerned about what other people will think? If I'm concerned about telling these stories, I think that you'll find that will open up tremendous possibilities for other people to participate in your work in a way that you hadn't anticipated. So don't be a slave. I mean, in some ways, you have to be a slave to the algorithm by making sure that the only thing that you do is publishing regularly. As difficult as that is, they can be 10 seconds long, but it's a sketchbook. It's a journal. It is not about likes, subs, and popularity. Don't even look at it. He claims he never looks at how much, and he's got millions of subscribers. The big thing is consistency and that you're already doing it. But you're getting hung up. And so that what that'll do is there'll be a gallery that will reach out to you. And then there's another conversation that we'll have when you come here about like how to get shows. That is really a powerful conversation that I think you'll enjoy. But unfortunately, I have another meeting.
No, thank you for your time and being so generous with me on like looking at my stuff, and it really like yes to everything. Any project you want to do, like would love to collaborate in any way. I just want to.
Sure.
I really enjoy what I do, and I enjoy that you enjoy what I do.
Okay, so check your email in about 10. There will be a guy who's going to reach out to you about trying to schedule something, all right?
Yes, sir.
See you soon.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's it. I'm here, and I'm working on a painting here, and thank you for watching.